I have worked my additional increase rounds and I'm ready to separate the sleeves from the body. Up until this point, we have been working the body and the sleeves every single round together, and now we're going to go ahead and separate them off. To do this, I'm going to go ahead and finish the previous round I was just working on. So I'm just going to knit until I get to the first shoulder marker. So now we're at the first shoulder marker. We are going to take this off. You will no longer need the stitch marker. And then you do need the stitch marker for the beginning and end of each round though. So I'm taking some scrap yarn, threading a darning needle, and I'm going to slip the stitches from the sleeve onto this yarn. And so you're just going to work them off and make sure you're not splicing the yarn. It's easy to do on this chunkier yarn, and it's important not to drop any stitches. If you do drop stitches, there are some great videos on YouTube to help you pick them back up. That's not what this video is for though, so let's hope I don't drop any stitches so I won't have to show. So I'm just going to continue working. And for a size medium, you should be transferring 30 stitches to the yarn. After we slip both sleeves onto their respective yarns, we're then just going to finish the body. But I'll just finish this and then I'll show that to you. And you want to make sure that whatever you slip doesn't come off the other side of the yarn, so you definitely want to get like a decently long piece of yarn. Okay. So these are my last stitches that I'm slipping off. So now I have the first sleeve on its piece of yarn. I'm going to just tie this yarn into a knot to make sure that it does not come undone. And it's okay to tie this into a knot that you can't get undone, because you're just going to cut it whenever you transfer it back onto the needles whenever you finish the sleeve. So we are now going to continue working the body, and we're going to cast on 4 stitches under the arm. And I do this the most basic way possible. I am literally just going to flip the yarn away, create a 4, and put it on the needle. So pick up the yarn, flip it away from you, and then cast it on to the needle. And this is going on your right needle. So I cast it on 4 additional stitches, and then you just keep working. So I am going to knit until the next stitch marker, and I will show you how to do the sleeve one more time. I am at the next shoulder marker, and if you're confused what the shoulder markers are, it's essentially just these 4 things that I'm referring to, and they mark the beginning and end of each sleeve. And the sleeves, you should be able to tell by the opening in the hood, but they're the 2 shorter sides, so I just wanted to make that clear. So I'm going to remove this marker, and then I'm going to work to slip all of these stitches from the sleeve onto a new piece of scrap yarn. It's impossible to go onto the same piece of yarn, so I just want to make that clear that you're going onto a new piece of scrap yarn. This is definitely one of the more awkward parts of making a raglan sweater, in my opinion. And it's just as awkward as putting the sleeves back onto the knitting needles, but we will worry about that when the time comes. So okay, so these are my last sleeve stitches. I'm going to tie a knot with my scrap yarn. Again, it's okay if this won't be a knot that you can untie. You're just going to cut the string in the future. So go ahead and make sure it's secure. Okay, now we have to cast on 4 more stitches under this armpit. So we are going to take the yarn, flip it away, and place the loop on our needle. We're going to do that 3 more times for a total of 4. Okay, and now we're just going to pick back up where we left off on the front. And now that you have separated out the sleeves, the rest of the body will just be knitted in a round. And you'll continue in stocking net stitch until you get to the last couple rows where you'll do ribbing and switch to 12mm needles, which is optional. You can still use 15, but I like sizing down because then it'll cinch in a little. But if you aren't really looking for that, you can just stay with the 15mm. So for a size medium, I am going to work until row 75. So I'm going to do this until I have a total of 75 rows, including the hood. For reference, that's about 21 more rows than I just worked. And then I'll meet you back here and show you how to transfer for the ribbing. All right, good luck guys, I'll see you soon. I've finished my allotted amount of rows per my size, and now I'm going to start the ribbing. Something that's optional for you to do is to choose to size down to 12mm size needles, which I am going to do as it cinches the ribbing just a little bit more and it looks more like a sweatshirt. So since I have interchangeable needles, I am actually going to switch my right needle out for the 12mm one. But if you don't have interchangeable ones, that's completely fine. You would just drop this one and work with the other one. So we're going to begin the ribbing, and we are just going to be working 1 by 1 ribbing the whole way around. So to work 1 by 1 ribbing, you knit 1 and then purl 1. And then you would just do that the whole way around. Oh my gosh, Ginger. Okay. My cat is in my room. So I'm going to work until the end of my round and then switch out the 15mm here for the 12mm. And then after that, I'm going to work a total of 5 ribbing rounds, and that is for the size medium. So if you're working a different size, again, please reference the pattern. So once I finish those, I'll show you how to do the stretchy bind off that will help make the ribbing super stretchy. So I'll meet you back here after you finished the allotted amount of ribbing rounds. I also just want to explain, to make sure I explained it enough, I didn't change this 15mm one because if I didn't have interchangeables, this wouldn't change. So you work one side onto the 12 and then pick up the 12 after you've finished a complete round. I just want to make that clear. If you have any questions on that, please leave a comment below and I'll help answer it. Okay, see you guys at the end of the ribbing rounds. So I've casted off my row. I have a few left to show you how I've been casting off. This is probably one of the simplest methods I know, and so I'll just show it to you. So you're going to, no matter what, whether knit or purl, you're going to knit into the back loop of the next 2 stitches on the left needle. And then you're going to place that back onto the needle. So you're going to go into the back loop of the first and second loop on your needles, do a knit stitch, remove it, and you have one on your right needle, and then you're going to place it back on to your left needle. And you want to make sure you're doing this relatively loose. You don't want it to be like super like flappy or anything, but you just want to make sure that it's not too tight, because the purpose of this is for it to be a stretchy bind off. So I'm going to finish this row here. And this is the same bind off that you will use for the sleeve. So once you master it, then you can do all the bind offs that you need for the sweater. And I unfortunately don't know the name of this, but this is basically all you need to know to do it. Okay, so I have my last two. I'm going to knit together, and then once you have one left, you're going to cut a tail and pull it all the way through. You don't need to make a knot, that's just how it ends. And now you have a nice and stretchy bind off. Now we are going to start the sleeves. I am now going to show you how to replace these stitches that were on our stitch holder string onto our needles. And I'm also going to show you how to pick up stitches around this gap, that if you didn't pick up stitches, it would be a huge hole in your sweatshirt, and that would not be good. Also, don't mind my makeup swatches on my arm. So I did my other sleeve first, and this happens to me sometimes. This gets jostled around or I'm trying it on, and so it might have a bit of some tweaking needed, but you just have to find the stitch that it's on. Okay, so I'm ready to cut my string and just slip all of these stitches back on to the needle. And I wouldn't even pull the stitch holder string out until you're a couple stitches on. So like I'll get like 4 stitches on and then I'll pull it out. Yeah, it just is safer because I hate dropping stitches. So I'm just going to work until I have run out of stitches to put back on, and then I will show you how to put stitches on the underarm. And a good tip is the stitches have to go on a certain way, otherwise you'll be working to flip them while, I don't know how to say this, but essentially you want them like this way. You want this loop on the front to be a little farther than the one on the back. I don't know why, that just is easier for me whenever I'm knitting. It's more natural for stocking knit. And you may find that this gets pulled down. It's completely okay, just pull it back up. It's not dropped, it's just sunken down a little bit. And that's why I am cautious when pulling out my string. Okay, so that was 32 stitches for a size medium, but now, or I think that was 30, but now we're going to pick up an additional 6 along here. So I'm going to go ahead and shift. Okay. So you're going to grab your new yarn, you're going to hold it down to the side, and then insert your right hook into the corner before the 4 stitches you casted on underneath. It doesn't have to be precise where you put it. I'm just going to go in this vertical bar, and I'm going to do a knit stitch. It's definitely a little tricky, but you just want to knit it like you're knitting a regular stitch. So now we're going to go into these 4 stitches under the underarm and pick up 4 stitches there. And then 1 more in the corner here. Okay, now you're going to place your stitch marker and begin the sleeve pattern denoted in the written pattern. So for a size medium, we are going to knit the first 4 rounds normally. So I'm going to jump off and just knit 4 rounds, and then I'll show you how I'm going to work my decreases. So I want to show you how the decreases will be worked on a decrease round. For a size medium, the repeat pattern is work 3 rows normally, and then on the 4th row, you're going to work a decrease. So this is how you do a decrease. You're going to knit into, you have to have 6 stitches left to start working the decreases, because you're going to decrease 2 together, knit 2, and then 2 more together. So you're going to knit into the back of this stitch. Geez, it's tight. And then you're going to knit 2. And then you're going to knit the last 2 together. So that's how you'll work the decrease rounds. For a size medium, just to recap, you do 4 rounds normal, and then you begin the decrease pattern, which is 3 normal rows, no decreases, and then a row of decreases. And you have to have 6 stitches left to begin them. This is all written out in the pattern. And then you're going to repeat this for a total of 9 times. So I'll meet you back here whenever I've finished this repeat pattern 9 times, and then I'll show you how to work the cuff. So I have completed all of my decreases on my sleeve, and now I'm going to switch to the 12mm knitting needles in order to work the cuffs. And so if you have, again, if you don't have interchangeables, you'll just pick up your 12mm knitting needles and then work them with the one 15mm on the left, but since I have interchangeable, I'm just switching them in. So it's just 1 by 1 rib, and the reason we switch is so it cinches. It looks more like a sweatshirt. I don't know why I got rid of that. You don't want to keep your stitch marker. So I'm just gonna knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and you're just going to want to do this all the way around for 1 round, and then switch this, the last 15mm needle, to the 12mm needle. So I'll finish this row and then show you. Okay, and the way you know you did it right is if you end on a purl, because you have an even number of stitches. So in 1 by 1 rib, you're going to begin in a knit and end in a purl. So I'm going to go ahead and move the stitch marker onto the right needle, remove my 15mm needle, and then put the 12mm on. And now I'm going to work for a size medium 4 more rows of ribbing, and then I will show you how to cast off the stretchy cast off that we used for the bottom of the sweatshirt. So I will meet you back here in 4 rows to work the cast off. I've completed my 5 1 by 1 rib rows, and so now I'm going to work the cast off, stretchy bind off. And I showed this earlier, but I'll show you guys again. So no matter what, you're going to knit into the back 2 loops of the next 2 stitches on the left needle. You're then going to, and you almost want to like pull it a little looser than normal, just because you want this to be stretchy, And the tighter you do it, I mean, the less stretchy it'll be. So you just want to keep working. You knit the back loop of the next 2 stitches on your left needle, and then place that stitch back onto the left needle, keeping it loose as you go. So I'm going to finish this, and then I will show you how I will finish the round. Okay, I have 2 stitches left, so I'm going to place it back onto the left needle, work into the back 2, finish the knit stitch, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut about a 6 to 8 inch tail and just secure it by pulling through the stitch to create a knot. So at this point, you should create one more sleeve the way I just showed you, so you might have to rewind the video and watch it over again. And now I'm going to show you how to sew up the hood, and after that it should be all complete. You'll just have to sew in your ends. So here I have my open hood. This is the wrong side, and then the stocking net is the right side. I am going to pull a tail that's about a little more than half the length of my hood. It doesn't fit all on my camera screen, but about a little more than half, or excuse me, a little more than twice the length of your hood. You're then going to thread your tapestry needle, and now you want to form the shape of the hood. So we are actually going to form the shape of the hood by folding it with the right or wrong side facing out. We are going to be working in the whip stitch, so we don't want the top of it to fold out. We want it to fold in towards the wrong side. Sorry if that doesn't make sense. So I just work the whip stitch by going in the first stitch and then on the one side, and then the first stitch on the next side. And to secure your corner, you're going to want to leave a little tail and then go through that same stitch you just worked into, and then you want to, before you pull it all the way tight, go in, and that will create a knot to secure your working yarn. Now, to the best of your ability, you're just going to work into each stitch that corresponds on each side. So I'm going into the second stitch now, and then I'm going to bring my needle back over, and so I'm stitching away from me. So I'm stitching away from me now into the third stitches on each side, pulling it back over here and going away from me to go into the fourth. So I'm going to finish this, and I'll come back whenever I've completed towards the end. And you want to make sure you're not double stitching stitches. It'll just make it look a little less clean. A good way to tell is that this stitch has this stitch in it already. You can just pull on it. So yeah. Okay, so the last two should just be side by side, but you still want to whip stitch them together. And again, here to end it, I'm going to go back through this without tightening it all the way to create another knot, and then I'm just going to secure it by working my needle back into some previous whip stitches. You can secure it further by working down into the hood, which might be a good idea because this will likely be up on someone's head, so you don't want them to have anything poking out and tickling them. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this. And now you can see that the hood is all complete. You can feel free to use another stitch, but I think that the whip stitch is most effective to close the hood. And with that, you are all complete. You just have to tuck in your ends and enjoy wearing this cozy sweatshirt during the winter. I am so excited about this project and I hope you guys are too. Thanks. Please like and subscribe.